Welcome back to the Cage Walk podcast with Kayla, presented by OddSmokerMMA. MMA. Tonight, I have David, the hype man, Hatton here with me tonight. One of the best announcers I know around the Mid-South area. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. How about yourself, Caleb?
Doing great. Thanks so much for reaching out. I want to jump in on here. I'm super excited to learn about, your growing up and where you're from, and then what got you into MMA and doing this. So I'm super excited.
Yeah. Hey, I appreciate you even posting out there on social media, looking for folks, and just having this opportunity to join this platform with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just get into it. Let's start. Let's learn a little bit about you before you got into announcing, and where you're from and what you love to do and stuff like that.
Okay. Well, yeah. Little background about me. I grew up, I say, the first 10 years of my life in Memphis, Tennessee, until my mother decided to move us to Horn Lake, Mississippi, at the top of the SIP. The reason for that change in our lives is, I think, was probably related to one of my older brothers, classmates, actually stabbing another student with a pair of scissors. And mom said, "Hey, it's time to go to Mississippi." I enjoyed it there in Memphis. However, moving to Mississippi, I think, was a great transition for me because I fell in love with the city of Horn Lake, actually where I went to school at. I am married, going on 29 years. I think that increases hair loss. Not really, but yeah, four adult children, a grandson, and another one on the way. And
Congratulations!
thank you. I enjoy hunting, fishing, loving every day, and I enjoy MMA.
And what got you into your love of MMA? Because obviously, I love MMA too.
Yeah, yes, I could tell. Well, I would say before MMA, before getting involved in MMA, I was a big wrestling fan. Memphis, Tennessee is the hotbed for wrestling, right? So I grew up watching that every Saturday and raised my children on that as well. But fast forward, UFC became very popular. I fell in love with it and started finding out about local events and started going to those. But what actually got me involved in MMA announcing, oddly enough, was somebody in my church saying, "Hey, would you be interested in coming to an event at the Lander Center in South Haven, Mississippi, and opening up in prayer?" I thought, honestly, because I have done devotions at wrestling events in the locker rooms with the guys, I thought that's what it was. I don't know why I wasn't quite comprehending it. So I got there to the Lander Center, introduced to the promoter, Danny Shell. Fast forward, lights, camera, action, opening prayer. And what people may not know about me is I do not like being out front in public. I don't like public speaking, but once it's lights, camera, action, it's on. I'm in the zone. I'm having fun. So fast forward a few more events, opening prayer, I was asked, "Hey, would you be interested in announcing?" I said no. They continued asking me until I finally and reluctantly said yes. And I did that. And after announcing the first two fighters, the promoter said, "You're hired." Jokingly, I said, "Yeah, okay." After the event, I was compensated for that event and was told when the next several events were going to be. And so that I've been hooked ever since.
Wow. I never, seeing you in the cage a few times now, I never would have thought. I mean, but you have the personality, you've got the style, you have it. When I say, I really truly mean you're probably the best announcer I've known around here. You and Jamie Grant, of course.
Right, right, of course.
I got to let their Jamie for watching this. I love you too, Jamie.
Yep,
um, but I never would have thought that you said no.
yep.
Like, you're just so outgoing, and so in what moment did you decide, like, you know what, yeah, I'm gonna do this? Like, because you jokingly said, yeah, okay, and you don't like the camera, you don't like being the center of attention. So what made you change your mind?
I think it was just the interaction with the fighters first and foremost, the
Mm.
camaraderie that is experienced interacting with the fighters and the passion that they have for putting on a show for us fight fans, and also just the coaches, and each one of these fighters are trying to take the next step in their MMA career. And if I could just be able to serve in that capacity and help just bring some hype and encourage them, that's what I want to do. I thoroughly enjoyed. I love seeing the smiles on their faces when I'm right in their face, growling their names and just announcing the winners, or even private messaging them or talking in person and just saying, "Hey, that was awesome." And the feedback that I receive from them it's a blessing to me.
That's amazing. It's all about the fighters too,
Yes.
as fans and being involved more into the sport. Everything we do is for those fighters, to help them build and to get them to the higher level they're trying to achieve. So anyone who's involved in any sense of MMA, from doing podcasts, interviews to, ring announcers, referees, we're all such a big part of that. And I have so much respect for people who do that, because in our situation, regionals is where it starts,
Yeah.
and then you see these local fighters that we know who are now UFC or and PFL and, bigger promotions. So I love it. So let's get into, I know you do some regional promotions here.
Mhm.
What has been your biggest promotion? Or I mean, not biggest, but let's go and talk about just people you've met, promotions you've been in. And if
Yeah.
there has been a major promotion you've announced for.
Absolutely. BFC, which eventually transitioned to SEFC, Shotgun Entertainment Fighting Championship. That's where I was able to cut my teeth and continue to remain loyal to that promotion. And through announcing a fighter out of Batesville, Arkansas, from Without Limits, a father recommended me to another promotion, which is NWFA, Northwest Fighting Alliance, out of Arkansas. And so those are the two primary promotions that I've been able to announce for and continue to do so even today. Like even this, I say not today, but this year I have 8 events on my calendar outside of a full-time job. So that's been exciting. And just knowing the networking that's happening and parents of fighters or even fighters saying, "Hey, we like this guy." Maybe they didn't like another announcer. Maybe that promotion was looking for an announcer. It's great because to me, I'm not competing with these other announcers. And as you mentioned, Jamie Grant, oh great, he's great. Nathan Kirby is another announcer, and my personal hero, Bruce Buffer. I mean, I've been able to glean from those guys and see them, when I'm watching fights from home or going to a fight and seeing those guys announcing and seeing their passion. Like I said, I'm learning from them, and it's awesome just to be able to have those type of guys that have been doing this longer than I have, and they're willing to share information and feedback with me.
That's awesome. That's what it is, connections and creating those to, help you build and, maybe one day get into a major promotion outside of a regional. Not that, like I said, I love the regional scene because that's where it begins, and going back the other way too, it's not just for fighters too, it's for everyone outside, who
Yep.
want to build up. So you said making connections with people. Who are some, people you've met that are helping you get bigger, get to more promotions outside of Arkansas and Mississippi?
Yeah, actually, a couple of the promoters are just doing great by networking and saying, "Hey, we got this promotion that's in Houston, Texas, or Denver, Colorado. Would you be interested?" Yeah, just saying, "Hey, this guy right here, we love partnering with him. He's a great announcer," and so I'm really appreciative of that. Some of those things haven't panned out, and that's okay. But when those opportunities present themselves, wherever it is, nationally, or if it takes me beyond that, I'm willing to do that. But I've had opportunities to work with UFC legends like Chris the Crippler Lieben. I mean, that was so awesome. Not only did he officiate and at this event that I announced it, he also coached in the main event. He cornered a guy, and I mean, super humble but passionate about this sport. And I used to watch him on UFC events, and here I am getting to work with people like that. That's pretty awesome.
Those definitely, it's rewarding too, you're like, you start off just watching it and here you are now working alongside these, these names who people know. And getting intertwined with those people, for him to be like, hey, I know this great announcer I met, that I was reffing and coaching at, bring him in.
Yeah.
And that's one reason I started doing this podcast, is to help people in our area, grow and hopefully be able to get eyes on them,
Yep. Yeah. And as I mentioned, the two promotions that I'm primarily connected with is SEFC and NWFA. Danny Shell being the promoter for SEFC and Joe Phoebus for NWFA. It's not uncommon for those guys to reach out to me well in advance saying, hey, here's what I got on the calendar. Love to have you, and I'm on it.
So you have eight events this year so far. And I know, I'm sure with SEFC and
NWFA.
FA. What other promotions do you have lined up?
Nothing else just yet. I'm up for other ones. Some have reached out to me, but we just couldn't work out a date or other details. And so I've had to pass on those. But definitely, if the phone keeps ringing or they're messaging me, I will definitely consider them. I just got to make sure that for those ones locally or regional, that I'm remaining faithful to being able to partner with them. Now, if I ever get the call up to the big leagues, I'm in. No offense to the regionals, but I'm definitely going to go give that a shot.
I think that's everyone's dream, and right. I keep going back to the fighters. Obviously, then we get to UFC. You as an announcer, you want to get into the bigger leagues like Bellator, PFL, UFC, Yeah. And even me, it's just, I just do a podcast, I actually just submitted a UFC press pass today, nice. For Atlanta. So fingers crossed that, that pans out. But I think this is everywhere, but it always goes back to the regionals,
Yeah.
I got to start off with working for FCFC, for a little while, doing graphics, and now that's opened doors for me where I'm working with the promotion in Hattiesburg, and I've got to interview UFC fighters, so I'm getting to working alongside. I sponsor UFC fighters, so if it wasn't for SCFC, I would have never had these doors open and these connections.
Right, exactly. Likewise, yeah.
So I think, it's everything just goes back to the regionals, I love it.
Absolutely.
So we all know, crazy stuff happens at fights. You get fan fights, you get fighter fights, like outside of the fight. What has been some crazy moments that you've witnessed being an announcer?
Wow. I will go to one of the first ones that just got real crazy, an event that got crazy. My wife and I are sitting cage side. I just came back in or back out of the cage, sit next to her. Main event's going, or the co-main event, excuse me. And the crowd is into it. I mean, if you go over to Rogers, Arkansas, nothing against any other gym in that area, Oklahoma or Arkansas, but the TCB Army has perhaps one of the largest followings, especially in that area. And so when you get all that energy and all these fans that take up about 3/4 of the crowd, and I'm talking several hundreds, if not thousands of people in that crowd, and somebody takes offense to that, that's rooting for the other guy, well, a fight breaks out, and it breaks out right next to the safety barrier. Literally, one guy stood up, started talking smack to a bunch of folks, and he got starched. I mean, I'm telling you, he got starched. It knocked the safety barrier over, and the fight started moving towards us. So I quickly grabbed my wife, pulled her on the other side of the octagon, and went over there, got on the mic, trying to calm the situation down. Of course, security and local law enforcement just swarming in. But that was one event. And then even in South Haven at the Lander Center, I've seen a couple of events where fighters after the fact were talking smack to each other. And I've seen law enforcement grab a fighter and just drag him out from behind, just trying to keep the fight from escalating. At that moment, I went over to the DJ and asked a silly question, and it could have just caused it to erupt even more, but asking, what he thought about playing Whoop That Trick. I don't know if it would have went so well. But I've seen a couple of events like that. Usually the fighters are so professional. within the octagon. It's
Mhm.
things that overspill out into the crowd. And again, they're people who have paid their hard-earned money to go and support their favorite fighters or just see live MMA action. But sometimes you get that passion, maybe people getting a little slizzard, and then
Mhm.
oh, here we go. So it's sometimes it's a little crazy, but man, as you know, as a fight fan, it's fun to go to those events. We just got to encourage each other to keep let cool heads prevail.
Yeah, most definitely. And I feel like, I mean, a lot of it, you see these young fighters who just want to be seen, you know? And I
Yeah,
feel like they just started for no reason, for the fighter wise, you know? And then, of course, like you said, fans just drinking too much. And
yeah,
yeah, definitely, I feel like most events, there's always something, you know, whether it's between fighters or fans, it's just inevitable, you know? It's what it's MMA, crazy shit
that's
happens.
right. Yes, it does.
But hey,
Absolutely,
we keep coming back every time. It doesn't stop us.
that's right. We're going to be there.
I want to
Absolutely.
jump. Oh, go ahead.
No, no, go ahead.
I just want to backtrack real quick because I did want to ask this when we were talking about it. And it totally slipped my mind. So when you
Yeah.
said no, you hate cameras, you hate the center of attention, and the first
Mhm.
time you did a prayer, you I want to say panic, but you probably got nervous, you know.
Oh yeah.
So, and this is something I ask my fighters, but I want to hear from your point. When you're walking into the octagon, what's going through your mind? You know, for someone who's not this type of person, all eyes on me.
Yeah. One, I remind myself it's not about me, and it's not. I'm concerned that I'm going to screw it with my words. It's going to happen. It's okay. When we're at those events, whether it's an announcer, whether it's somebody singing the Star Spangled Banner, whether it's a fighter speaking on a mic, post fight interview, any of that stuff, we don't have any other takes except for that one. There's no retakes. So it's live. It's going to happen. We're
Mhm.
going to screw up. That's okay. But again, I remind myself it's not about me. I'm there to serve those fighters, those coaches, those gyms, the fans, get them riled up. And so that's where my focus is just making sure that I play my part. And if I mess up, it's okay. I'm human.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a great way to look at it too. You know,
Mhm.
everything about the fighters and
Yes.
whatnot. So now, um, sorry, I'm so sorry.
Go ahead.
I might, because I cannot do this. I know, like, you have cards that you read off of, but you do a lot of it by memory.
Mhm.
That has to be hard, you know, like, because you can't just sit there and read off the cards because you have to be interactive, you know.
Right.
How do you do it?
Uh, it is a challenge. One of the things that I like to do is like I could go to a website, let's say like Tapology, and get fighter information. Well, it's not always current. So I'm going to reach out to fighters and coaches of gyms and say, hey, tell me your name, first name, last name, what your nickname is, what placement you want that as I announce you. Tell me your win loss record, or let's say win, lesson learn record. Uh, and then your height, weight, all that information, where they're fighting out of. And I am writing it down on a card. And I will, usually fights are on a Saturday, right? So Friday evening, maybe even sooner, the cards are being prepared. And then I will read them Saturday. I will go over them over and over at home. And then when I get to whatever venue that I'm at, I will do that again. And it usually helps. But a lot of times these fighters I'm seeing over and over again in a couple of different promotions, which helps. But again, I think the personal interaction with the fighters is what truly benefits me instead of just being handed something or going and retracting information from a website. Get with the fighters to give me the information that they want said instead of what somebody else says. And that helps.
I could never do it. I'm like, I have so much respect for you. The first MMA event I ever went to was a regional fight, and I honestly think it was SEFC. I think
Yeah.
that's the first event I've ever been to.
Okay.
Me and my husband were trying to find something to do, and we're like, let's just go here. Let's check it out, you know? And so, of course, you were announcing, and I'm just like, how the heck does he do that? Like, I could never do that. I struggle enough doing like interviews like this, and like
Yeah.
I have my little notes here, but
Mhm.
I love it, and I have so much respect for you doing that for these fighters. Like I
Thank
said a little bit about, um, like you said, I mean, any fight I've been to, who's ever announcing, especially you and Jamie, like y'all have that energy, that Bruce Buffer energy, and these fighters are smiling. They're getting hyped up. The
Yep.
hype man, you're
Right.
getting them hyped up, and I love it. I seriously so much respect for that. I could never do it.
Right. I hear you.
But I, I was curious like how you guys remember it, because like, yeah, you guys have little the little cards, but like you can't just look at it.
Right.
You have to stay moving, like you can't just sit still. But yeah, so this is totally off topic, but you said so you do this obviously Fridays, Saturdays. You work full time. If I can
Yep.
mind asking, what do you do full time?
I'm a supply chain manager for a medical device manufacturer, and
Okay.
I've been in this industry for about 26 years now.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
Yep.
amazing.
Oh yeah. Actually have a wife and a child who have product in them from places that I've worked. Yeah.
Wow.
Uh-huh. Yep. Yeah,
Wow.
it's pretty neat. Plates, screws, cadaver bones, things of that nature. Some of my family has in them.
I don't know. I don't want to say that. I mean, it's cool. You work for the manufacturer that pretty much probably saved your family's life.
Yeah.
And they were able to use those and keep them, fix them. So that's awesome.
Yep.
Uh, is there anything you just want to add? I'm trying to make sure I went through all the questions I had, but is there anything you want to add?
Well, I go back to these fighters and all of the time that they're putting in. Some of them are linked to gyms, and some of them are not. They're out there on their own. But I think it's instrumental for these fighters to be connected to a gym. Granted, there's a fee, there's a price that comes with that, but the discipline that they're learning. I mean, I think about if you don't mind, I'll do some shameless plugs for some gyms. Without Limits out of Batesville, Arkansas. A great bunch of guys and ladies out there. Bang Gym, TCB Army that I mentioned earlier, the LC, Valhalla MMA, Killer Bees, Black Sails MMA, Team Leech, UFM, Team Fusion, Law School MMA, Primal MMA, all of these gyms and so many more that are unnamed, and no disrespect toward them, but they are just pouring into these fighters and taking them to that next level. But it's not just for those fighters. It's for the average person like myself. If I want to go there and learn, certain self-defense, things, that's where I could go is to some of these places. But there's also, there's so many great prospects out there currently in the regionals that are just grabbing attention. You think about Joshua Wide Open Wings, who has been on UFC contender series a couple of times, and then Danny Left Hand to God Barlow. I mean, that guy has made it to the main card a couple of times. I think, matter of fact, one of his first fights with the UFC, it wasn't communicated during the fight that he won, but he broke his arm and he kept fighting. I mean, these guys have so much passion. But if you think some of the others that are out there they're grabbing the attention of other promotions, even all the way up to Bellator and UFC. Roland Armadillo Pruden, Eric
Yeah.
Lau Calvert. You've heard about him?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've met Pruden a couple of times.
Okay. Eric Lau Calvert, Scott Hollywood Calvert. Those are brothers. Chase
Hey,
Manable. Yeah. Chase.
amazing.
Yep. Chase Manable Man. Ethan, the Arm Assassin Birmingham. Reggie King Nub Amerson, the Sniper Darius Pattern. I mean, just so many out there that are just taking it to the next level. Those are some of the ones that just come to my head right off the top and go, hey, watch for those guys. Again, no disrespect for any of the others out there, because there are hundreds and hundreds of them that I've been able to interact with. But those are some of the ones that I think we're going to be seeing on, some of the big events in the near
Oh, yeah.
future. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I want to mention one, just because you mentioned Josh Williams out of his gym, you have Ethan Forrest.
Yes.
He's
Absolutely.
so young and he's just starting out, but he is a killer. you
Oh
know?
yeah.
Him and Scott, two youngest ones that I know of right now who are just phenomenal fighters. Their passion, their fire in that cage when they go in is just unreal, you know. And everyone, and like you said, no disrespect to anybody, but everyone you just mentioned, and you know, the fighters that I get to work with, directly sponsoring them in the regional scenes, you know, their passion, you know, and that's who the fighters I love to work with, you know. I love being able to be part of their journey, and I'm sure you are too, you know.
Mhm.
Because you were announcing for Ethan's debut, you
Yeah.
know,
Yes, exactly.
so you know, you got to be there on his very first fight, and his first two, you know, fights he won, you know,
Yes.
and he's, you know, he's just one, and like you said, Scott and Eric, you know, as brothers, they are amazing, you know, and there's, like you said, so many around the scene that are just phenomenal. And I can't wait to see where they go and see them on the, you know, on the UFC roster someday.
Yep. And each one of them, you think about it, you know, how they're trying to make sure they're making it to these camps and these training, you know, classes, wherever they're going and traveling to, they're selling merch, one, to get their name out there, but also to help, you know, sponsor some of that. And so when these guys and ladies are reaching out for sponsors, it's not simply about them, but they're pleading with fight fans to support them in some way. And that's a great way that we could do that. Several of those that I mentioned, if they got merch out there and I've got some, you know, spare change, if you will, I'm going to buy it. And there's so many of them that I've stacked up and I'm wearing out in public to help promote them. And one, because I love watching them.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're so right. Just any little big thing that helps them, you know. As you know, a lot of those fighters that you just announced are fighters I work with, doing merch designs for them for
Yeah.
free,
Yeah.
you know. And that's where it all starts off. Just little bits of just helping them, because and a lot of these fighters are amateurs, you know, and they don't have the support that the higher ranked fighters have. So
That's
they
right.
need people like you and me and these local promotions, Danny Shell. You got Jordan Thrash down in Mississippi, you know, who are trying to help these fighters just build, you
Yeah.
know, and it all just starts with just us, you know. So like David said, if you guys see these fighters with merch, buy it. It helps them with everything they need.
Yeah.
Um, and especially down here in the Mid South, there's so many, you know, potential fighters who are just gonna just go. Or these fighters who have potential. Sorry, I said
Yes.
that backwards.
No.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it's amazing to seeing all these fighters, you know, and the support they have. And I know that you truly care about these fighters and you just want the
Yep.
best for them and just to help them.
Yep.
Um,
And that's instrumental is what you just said. So many of the fighters, like I mentioned, have provided feedback, and they're like, we could tell that you actually care. When a fighter could tell, whether it's a sponsor, whether it's somebody getting them some merch together, a cameraman or camera lady, cut girl, ring girl, promoter, when you're genuine and you show that you care, you try to spend time with them, invest in them, learn more about them, it means a lot. And just to hear that feedback from a lot of these fighters and coaches, that pushes me and inspires me to give it all I got when I get in there and announce them.
so I love it.
Yep.
I love it. And you know, I think that's why a lot of people start these like little podcasts. I mean, that's what I did, you know.
Yeah.
That's when we started offering our sponsorship program, you know. All we want to do is just help
Yeah.
fighters, you know, like you. We started off being fans, and then we're like, what can we do to help?
Yes.
You know, and we've had people come and like, we can talk to fighters, you know, we just talk to them friendly after fights, whatever. Like, I'd love to sell merch, you
Yeah.
know, but I don't have the money to pay a graphic designer.
Right.
We're like, what can we do with that? And here
Yeah.
we are now doing free merch for fighters so they can make money, have them
Mhm.
on my podcast, you know, and just anybody in the MMA world, you know. All I
Yes.
want to do is help everybody, you
Yeah.
know.
And,
And
and that's the way it should be in this combat sports community, and I think it is, especially in the areas in which we've been able to work with the groups, the promotions. You could sense that camaraderie. You could sense people care, and yeah, I mean, giving back to them, how you're giving back to them, how I am, and so many others. That's what's needed, and it'll continue to build this sport, I believe.
absolutely, I think, you know, over the last couple of years with all promotions around, I feel like they're getting better and bigger and just, they're heading in a better direction with all of the support from local people, businesses, more people getting involved, more fans, shows are getting bigger. I've heard promotions had to get bigger venues because they have more fans coming in because they have more fighters from more, outside of just Arkansas, Mississippi, and Tennessee, which I think is phenomenal. I love that sport's growing down here and getting bigger.
Yes.
But yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely some big things coming to the Mid-South MMA scene for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, indeed.
I do want to ask, before we jump off here, where can viewers who aren't following you, where can they find you?
That's a great question. I appreciate that. I do have a Facebook account, personal Facebook account, David Hatton. I'm also on Instagram, and what else am I on?
Twitter?
Not what? I don't use it near as much. Let's see here. Let me look.
Handle.
Yeah, let me see. Oh, TikTok. That's another one I'm on. So
can't go wrong with the TikTok.
Yeah.
What is your Instagram handle?
Let me look at it.
I think it's a hype M or something, or
yeah. Let's see here. It's about to pull up. It is no spaces. The Hype Man D Hat. The Hype Man D Hat. And on TikTok, let's see, what is that? It is the _hype_man_D_hat. Yeah.
Make it so simple.
Yeah.
Guys, make sure to follow David, the Hype Man Hatton, here on all social medias. Add him on Facebook. Keep track of him. Give him the love and support that he deserves. He truly is one of a kind. So much energy, so much passion. I can't wait to see where your MMA career takes you outside the regional scenes. Any promotion I'm watching, here's your guy. He is phenomenal. He has the knowledge. He has the passion. Is there anything else you want to add?
Hey, I appreciate you inviting me on here, Kayla. It's a great opportunity just to chat, share our love for MMA. I look forward to the additional events. Like I said, 8 events scheduled for this year. I anticipate more. I'm all for it. I love, if you're a fighter, you're paying attention to this and you think, hey, that guy wouldn't want to talk to me. No, come up to me. We'll talk. We'll take pictures. I love taking pictures with fighters, coaches, fans. When fans come up to me and ask for some merch, I do have shirts, and then I'll ask for an autograph or maybe a picture. I'm not trying to get out there and be rich, but if I have some merch, I'll definitely do that. And, it's not about me, but I do have that. But I will definitely point you to the fighters. If they have something to sell, I'm going to point you to them before, accepting you giving me a little change and buying a shirt or something like that. But yeah, I'll tell you what, when a little kid comes up and says, hey, can you sign this for me? And whatever it may be, a sheet of paper that he brought with him, that's cool. I mean, those kids just getting in there and loving that, it's pretty awesome. So again, thank you for this time. I look forward to working with you again and seeing you at some of these other promotions as well.
Absolutely. And guys, for the pictures, by the way, David is always dressed super snazzy. He's always got the best jackets on. Can't go wrong. You can't miss him. Let's just put it that way. You'll know who he is. But again, I hope to have you on. And thank you for reaching out. I'll be honest, I even think about having an announcer in. So when you reached out, I'm like, why didn't I think about that? You were such a huge part of Fight Night and just in general with these fighters, helping them. So thank you. I'm so glad we were able to work something. I would love to have you on again. I'd love to maybe break down some fights one day with you, go over some stuff and just talk,
Sounds good to me. I'm all for it. Yes. Let's do it.
Hell yeah. Well, let's get together soon and figure that out.
Okay. We'll do it.
You have a great night. Thanks again.
You do the same. Thank you.
Bye.